Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Pulavinaka Namaste. Well, clearly it has been a stimulating day, and I am delighted to be here with you this evening. I have prepared a few words, but I see here there's something else on the lectern which says, play that funky music. So maybe we'll come to that a bit later. I've been asked to make some remarks this evening on the theme of rule of law. But I have also been asked to be A, female, and B, funny. Now, I usually manage at least one of those in the evening. My predecessor addressed this conference in 2013, and he prefaced his remarks by saying that following a difficult divorce, he saw this as a golden opportunity to be very rude to a room full of lawyers. And he then underlined that he had double-checked his own legal position before speaking by reminding the room that he could not be sued for anything he said, since Article 31 of the 1961 Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations means that diplomats are immune from civil or criminal proceedings. And I just want to make it clear at this very early stage in the evening that that same provision applies to me. But to be serious for a moment, I have been very impressed by the themes addressed in this conference and by the very intense discussions going on in the margins. As the Prime Minister said in his address to us earlier today, we cannot take progress for granted. We need to continue to build institutions and systems. And as for me, I have been British High Commissioner in Fiji and head of the UK's network in the region for 16 months now. And I'm at the stage where I'm feeling quite comfortable in my role. But reflecting on these months, there have been a range of reactions when I travel up and down your country and I meet people. Quite often, people will say to me, oh, you're not how I expected the British High Commissioner to look. Or, you're a woman. Yes. Or my personal favourite, when you see your ambassador, tell him, that one I do admit to you, that drew a characteristically undiplomatic response on my part. But the most frequent comment I get is that the UK and Fiji understand each other. People are genuinely pleased to be talking to somebody from the UK. And this is based on shared systems, shared processes, shared culture, so much shared history. And for me, it really is a genuine delight to meet young men and women who have completed a UK or a Commonwealth scholarship and are then returning to Fiji or have some other very special link with the UK. And it is a real privilege to address you all tonight because in many ways, our links through the legal and judicial system are the pinnacle of that shared history. In April next year, the UK will host the Commonwealth Summit. The UK will be the chair in office for 2 years for that. The Commonwealth is a voluntary organisation of independent and sovereign states. It represents the collective aspirations of 2.4 billion people, 60% under the age of 30, and approximately a whole 50% women and girls. And CHOGM 2018 provides an opportunity to renew the Commonwealth's commitment to good governance and rule of law, not just as important means in their own right, but also essential building blocks for sustainable development. And I'm hoping that many of you here today will recognise that your training and your roles have been shaped by the history of strong Commonwealth links between sovereign countries. Some of the initiatives under consideration for the summit include looking at the Commonwealth trade advantage, shared expertise through rule of law, greater capacity building for values-based leadership. But it's right also that the Commonwealth focuses on modern challenges, such as cyber, and I know that's a theme that you'll be discussing tomorrow. But more broadly, I want to address a question at the heart of your discussions here, and at the heart of many of the interactions that I've heard around the room today. And this is the question between the interplay between what is happening here in Fiji and international standards. From the UK perspective, the more that countries are integrated into the rules-based system, particularly through the United Nations, the better the long-term prospects for stability and economic growth. And none of us can do this alone. Here in Fiji, we are very proud of the bilateral cooperation between the UK and Fiji with the police on video interview techniques and more broadly on access to justice through the EU and UNDP. And I want to congratulate the government of Fiji for taking additional steps in this regard, namely ratification of the Convention Against Torture and ratification of the rights of persons with disabilities. And I hope there will be others in due course. For the UK, we are ready to share our experience of all of these treaties, including how they apply in some very small jurisdictions, such as the UK overseas territories. And from an economic perspective, the key to attracting international investment is confidence in rule of law. Clear, rules-based decision-making from government and regulators. And all of you here tonight have a responsibility and an opportunity to help continue to build Fiji's reputation and contribute to a prosperous future. Finally, I want to close by reflecting on common challenges. So before coming to address you tonight, I spoke to a number of leading legal figures in the UK and asked them about what they see as the single largest challenge. And actually, the number one theme that came through was around the development and supply of talent. And I'm sure that sounds a familiar challenge to many of you here tonight too. The UK is playing a modest role in this by providing Chevening scholarships or funding Commonwealth scholarships and by helping publicise opportunities for young talent here. But each and every one of you here tonight has a role to play in finding and developing young and diverse talent. And I want to focus on the word diverse there. How important it is to have diverse voices within the legal system, and important that we don't just create a system of Me Too's, but we do create a culture of genuine debate. This has been a big focus and a major effort in the big UK law firms and in the British civil service to ensure a genuinely diverse pipeline. And it is important that we use our own individual voices to champion talent that comes from different backgrounds and is not necessarily like-minded. In the UK, we have a vehement dislike of quotas. But if you don't have quotas, we know that you have to have some robust and tailored support mechanisms in place to make the change that you want. And in my role, I've had the opportunity to mentor some people, one or two of whom I expect to be working for in a few years' time. And I get to mentor or advise young people quite a lot in my role. And this is a key part of my job, although I have to say, doing it from Fiji back into the UK, the time difference, that just kills me some of the time. And these are usually young women, and these are usually young women from a privileged background. And quite often it is someone who knows someone who knows someone who is asking for help. And I've had to stop and reflect if doing this is genuinely going to drive the long-term change my organisation needs to stay relevant, or whether I have to take a different approach, such as, yes, okay, of course I'm going to help and advise you, but if I do that, then I'm also going to ensure that I reach out somewhere else and make sure that I'm helping and advising someone from a very different background in a very different part of the UK. But whatever path you take as individuals to help develop new talent, and whatever path you take collectively, I am sure you will succeed in your endeavours. When I meet your young people, I feel genuinely excited for the future of this country. And the UK is ready to do its bit to support you. Ending, ladies and gentlemen, I would just say, how do you get a bunch of lawyers to smile for a photograph? Say peace. Thank you very much, and I wish you a pleasant continuation of this conference. Thank you.